Hey, welcome to our work session tonight. Mr. Fulbright's at the commission meeting presenting our capital request and has sent word that he's still there, and hopefully he's having good luck, and so I'll try to hold it down until he gets here. First on the agenda is student recognitions. Who will be presenting that? Huh? That'd be great. Do we have a PowerPoint or anything that has? Here he comes. Here he comes. Yay! Nick, you're first on the agenda.
Got it. All right, so just like last time, we want to present to the board some student recognitions. Okay, I'm not sure who's all here, but we'll go ahead and go through our presentation. We did decide to take off anybody that was not being recognized, so it'll just be the schools that we are recognizing tonight, and I'll ask them to come forward as we call them out. All right, so your valedictorian and salutatorian. Valedictorian from Columbia Central, Shelley Lynn. All right, not seeing her. Salutatorian, Ryan Tomlin.
Right.
Jack will get your picture. All right, from Hampshire Unit School, we've got Miss Carly Rowland, valedictorian. All right, salutatorian from Hampshire Unit School, Hannah Hartsfeld. All right, from Mount Pleasant High School, valedictorian, Kristen Chapman. Salutatorian, Miss Pooja Patel. All right, next up we've got our Girls State delegates, Miss Sydney Castillo, Columbia Central High School. Miss Holly McAdams, Columbia Central High School. And Miss Patton Powers, Columbia Central High School. All right, representing Mount Pleasant High School, Miss Margaret Hurt. Representing Hampshire High School, Avery Keeler. And representing Mount Pleasant High School, Kylie Brewer. All right, our lone boy state delegate from Murray County, Mr. Samuel Gettner from Hampshire High School. Did I get it right, Mom? You did. All right, and we've got a couple governor schools. I wasn't sure of the schools for these, so we're just going to go ahead and recognize everybody. Governor School for Engineering, we've got Avery Bryant, Autumn Bopp, and Maya Wynn. For the arts, we've got Walker Andrews. For computational physics, we've got Sullivan Wyndham. For music, we've got Boyer Gibson and Eleanor Weaverling. Yes, sir. Oh, engineering. Okay, thank you. I stand corrected. Eleanor is going into engineering. So, thank you. That's it for recognitions.
All right, next on the agenda is, we're ready for finance, correct? And she is here, and then she is going to return to the commission meeting. So if you have any questions, we'll take it all up right now.
I have 2 pointers from Mr. Perriman that I wanted to pass along since he's at the meeting at the moment as well. All the budget amendments that are for just regular finance items are under the finance section. However, there are 2 budget amendments that are later in the purchases section for Mr. Perriman's department. I think he said his department will talk about those purchases more when they get to that section, but he just wanted me to pass along saying the purchases for transportation for their buses, I think is what they're buying. It's all out of savings within the transportation department. There's a purchase for the maintenance department later on, and that's for a loader. I think they're getting a compact loader, and that is out of the electricity savings. So I just wanted to put those notes out there since Mr. Perriman asked me at the meeting. Some of the things that, for the financials that we wanted to share this month is if you look on the revenues, our sales, property tax is actually up $1.8 million than what we budgeted. That has really helped our projection out on the deficit that we thought the district would have. Sales tax estimate as well, looking at how high we're going compared to the last year. We've actually changed the estimate on what we are estimating to close on the year. So that really helped cut the deficit amount down that we had to about $300,000 at the moment, which was again $1.some million last month. But because the revenue increased and we've been looking at those projections really closely with our monthly financials, if everybody spends every dollar in their budget, we are probably going to be on a deficit about higher 300s, about 400,000. But if you all have any questions, I'm here.
Which is a lot better than it was.
Which is a lot better than what we thought last month, actually.
Right, okay. Are there any questions about the financials? Budget amendments? Any of that? Okay, then we will move on. Excuse me. What? Yes, I'm sorry, I'm all of those we'll move to consent unless there's an objection. I hadn't done this in a while, so I'm catching up here. All right, next is instruction. First up is the FY22 consolidation application.
Renee had an accident, and so just keep her in your prayers. She fell and she fractured her heel, so she's going to be having surgery and will be out for.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So just keep her in your thoughts and prayers.
I can be most sympathetic. So.
So the consolidated applications are normal after we present the first time, and it's our first approval. As you know, that's our projected budgets for federal programs. And normally we present that to y'all, and then as the school year ends and we come back and do carryover, we will reallocate the carryover and come back and present it again for final approval. The time frame will be September, October.
Okay. Did any of y'all had an opportunity to look at it? Do you have any questions? Then can we move that to consent? Consent? All right. Next is the list of AP courses, and it's a montage of many things. It's the AP courses, the consumable and parking fees, and the prom and graduation dates. It's one-stop shop. So, any questions about that?
Miss Betty, I have a question, or rather a comment on that. So, Ms. Gerard, and I did say your name correctly, is that right, or no? Gerard. I'm sorry, I knew I was going to mess it up. I know you're new to our district, and maybe others can elaborate on this more, but I came from a very impoverished district where I taught at, and we always made sure that we had the, Tennessee annotated law on there, stating that those fees may be requested, but they're not a condition of attending public school or using its equipment. I've got it here, pulled up. I think what is, and you can correct me on this, you may need to do research, I understand, but I think that those fees cannot be suggested that they're required. And I know that I've heard from some, parents that those fees are, especially, believe it or not, like sometimes have 6 kids, and I know like at 1 year they were substantial. These are not that much, but I would like to see that reflected on anything requesting that so that we are in compliance. Unless I'm reading that wrong, I've got it pulled up here, a memorandum I can forward over, but I don't want a $25 fee, to interfere with anyone's education or feel like if it's a difference between a family paying for their meal versus, you know, paying these fees. I want to make sure that that's outlined, that there is a way that they can suggest waiver for that. So, and I'm happy to email this to you, but,
Just so you know, having taught in
Right.
Something that had fees and had to deal with it, but when someone is on free and reduced lunch, even if it's, a smaller reduced lunch, not totally,
mhm.
then they are subject to waiver.
Yes.
And we budget to cover those fees.
Yes.
So, you know, I don't know about the
Each
law, and if you
individual
want to
school.
include that, I understand
I
it,
can
but
email it out to everybody.
Uh-huh.
I know it's something that we always included, and I've seen, because you know, I mean, I'm one that I would, you know, donate extra just to help, you know, and I know a lot of parents are that way. But I know different schools, because I had asked for it prior to being on the board, some included it on their form, some did not, and that bothered me just from a standpoint of hearing some of those side marks. So I'll be happy to forward what I have here. It may not be the most up to date because it's me and my very limited research, but I do believe it is the law that is applicable, so I'll send it to you guys. So thank you.
Mr. Moore?
I would like to register my annual complaint with parking fees. As I say every year, I cannot stand that we charge parking fees for maintenance of parking lots when the schools are not maintaining their parking lots, the district is. So I don't know why we do that and then turn around and charge for parking. I would actually go along with what Marlena has said. I would rather us not do that, or if we're going to call it something, call it what we actually use it for and not call it for maintaining parking lots. Because again, the district pays for that, the school does not. And I cannot stand it. I haven't been able to stand that for the 6 years I've been on here, and I'm probably never going to agree with it.
It does say consumable and parking fees. So I would say that a lot of it is used for paper clips and different things like that. You'd have to, you know, I don't know about parking fees, and you're right, we do maintain them, and most of the parking lots are in pretty good shape right now, but I don't know the answer to that. Mr. Moore has made the same objection every year, and we listen, but I don't have a problem with it.
I don't think anyone is charging fees to paint and stripe or anything. They may be charging for decals or whatever, and it may be it's a nominal charge, so that they can produce the parking passes or whatever.
We're charging $20 a student to park. I don't think stickers are costing $20. That may just be me. Or if so, we need to find a new vendor for stickers.
We'll definitely can look at what portion of the consumable fee is parking fee and bring that back.
So let me go back. I'm sorry. This is what my issue has always been. If we're going to be charging for something else, call it what we're charging for and be open and transparent about that. I just can't stand charging for something, calling it one thing, when we all know it's not being used or a very small portion is being used for that. So if it needs to be for paper clips or whatever else we need, whatever consumable fee it needs to be, then let's just charge for that and tell people what we're charging for and make sure it's clear about that. I just, frankly, as expensive as buses are, the issue we have with busing, I would think it would not be a bad idea to have kids being able to drive themselves to and from school and not be taking up another seat on a very expensive bus that we already have trouble getting bus drivers for.
I think renaming it, maybe even just consumables, because these cover their IDs, their just all kinds of different things. So it's just having the funds to do it, because each school kind of operates independently. So But we can leave it on, new business if you wanna discuss it further at the board meeting. Ms. Irvin?
I mean, and I just wanna say, I understand, 'cause I do understand that the schools depend upon these fees, to operate, so I'm not against them per se. I'm just against, a struggling family having to make tough decisions, because I wouldn't, you know, we never know what situation we may find ourselves in, and I try to be sensitive to those. But on a side note, and I know our principals aren't here, they're the ones that requested that, but I've had so many parents over the years tell me, you know, I wish they would just say, we need $150 from each parent, and let me just pay my fee and then don't do fundraisers. I almost wish there was a way we could do like a suggested, I mean, I don't know, but like a suggested help us out fee and not have to go door to door selling. That may not be a topic for now, but just wanted to put that out there.
I'm gonna suggest that we put it on new business. Maybe you send your information to Ms. Gerard, and we kinda take a look at it at the, board meeting, okay? All right. Next is, high school, summer school, and credit recovery.
All right, back up to the front. We sent you guys we've added it late with the breakdown of what we're doing for summer schools, for high schools. Just got the idea that there wasn't a whole lot of distinguishing between the summer camp programs that we're doing and the summer school that we're actually doing for high schools. So we wanted to make sure, because it is board policy, that you guys saw what we're doing for summer school for high schools, to give you a chance to vote on that, because per board policy, 4.204, it has to be passed by you guys in order for us to do it. And now that we're doing a traditional summer school, felt like it was a good time to kind of give you a look at what we're trying to do, to preempt and be proactive about some of the struggles that our students had this year. So in the packet that we uploaded, you'll see the first section deals with credit recovery. That's board policy 4.210. It's going to talk about the Murray County Senior Summer School. So this specifically addresses seniors that were struggling to meet their credits for graduation. Ms. Luema McWilliams and Dr. Potts worked together to kind of put that program together. Students have actually been working on credits basically since May 8th to try to get that done. Luema does a pretty good job with the Virtual Academy in Northfield getting those students in. She has 2 different graduation dates. They're the first graduation date, and then they also have a graduation date in June just for those students. They're allowed to wear their cap and gown from their high school, so it's a good opportunity just in case some of those students are behind. So that's the first program that's in there. The second program is our site-based credit recovery. Every single high school is going to do credit recovery for their students 9 through 11. This will be something that can help us with our continuous learning plan to try to address some of those. All of those classes will be in person, so no remote students for that, so we think that's going to help out quite a bit. There is a breakdown of the number of teachers. Even at Santa Fe, we're going to be at one of the local churches, so we'll be able to have that local for the students. We're still going to test out some technology in that area, but so those are the 2 normal summer schools or traditional summer schools that we have. Those ever since I've been a teacher here, so 17 years, those are programs that we've ran, and I just don't think anybody ever brought them to you guys, according to Mr. Hickman. The one that I really want everybody to pay attention to is the traditional summer school that we're going to pilot at Columbia Central. Mr. White came to me earlier this year and said that they felt like because of some of the problems that their students were having, they wanted to be able to offer a traditional summer school. So you'll see that program there. We actually have Dr. Kovac here tonight and Ms. Rose McLean, or Dr. Rose McLean, if you guys had any questions about that. But they've been very detailed about the program that they're going to put together, and we feel very strongly about what we're going to try to do to, like I said, preempt some of those problems that we had with students. It's very structured. I know Ms. Parker was asking about days missed. That information is in there. if a student misses 3 days, then that's it. So they're back into the class, and so I'm excited about the traditional summer school, and we want to see how it works for this first year and maybe reach out. I did give all the high schools the opportunity to have a traditional summer school. Central was the only one that kind of bit this year, so.
Appreciate the information. I think it's pretty complete here, and what you need ultimately is our approval.
Yes, ma'am.
So is there any discussion about it? Any questions? So we're gonna move it to consent. There you go.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry. If I could ask that since we're kind of shifting back towards, traditional, can we get a follow-up after the summer maybe to see how that goes?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd be interested to see, some on-the-ground feedback of how it turns out.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Mr. Sapicki, I see you back there, and I know you've just come to enjoy all the fun and frolic here at the board meeting, right? Is there any particular reason you're here? Just coming to, did you bring pizza? That's generally what they do.
Wow, put you on the carpet.
Well, we're glad to have you. I'm just filling in, so I have a lot of leeway here. Okay, next is,
Madam Chair, before we go to operations, just briefly, I want to give you guys an update. We are, there's a lot of things going on. We are finishing up the summer learning applications. Summer site coordinators are now they made their schedules. They're contacting staff. We're sorting staff out. As you know, we have a lot of staff who want to work for us full-time. We have a lot of staff who want to work for us part-time. We have a lot of staff who don't want to work on Fridays. So we are, eagerly working that out. We've posted opportunities for people in the community who have a 4-year degree, provided they take a course that they can join us too. So we will keep those people in mind as we near the end of getting people staffed, and we feel like we'll have, where our gaps are, and then try to offer opportunities to those folks. I mean, our goal is to work everybody we can. We want our ratios to be as low as we can, and be able to really help the students that, are going to come, to give them an opportunity.
are you fully staffed yet? I mean...
We're close. We still have a few gaps, but this week we had a work session yesterday with site coordinators yesterday afternoon, so that they could do some cross collaboration between schools. I think everybody primarily wants to work at their schools, but when we fill up, then we're trying to, look at the person's first choice and say, hey, we'd like you to come over here, and we're trying to do that.
Any comments or questions?
Yeah.
What? No? Okay.
I do.
All right, Ms. Zara, excuse me.
Mr. Gaines, I just am curious, how badly is that impacting our class numbers with the cuts?
Are you talking about the summer school, or?
No, I'm sorry. I'm half listening. I apologize. That's where I get in trouble. I'm typing an email to all you lovelies, so. So you were talking about summer school, and okay, I was on the next mind thought of next year. Never mind.
Okay, thank you. Nothing else for instruction then, so we'll move on to zoning and facilities. And so the first thing up would be capital projects report. I don't know. Dave, what do you think?
Well, we're just finishing up some of the projects. The numbers that are on there are just kind of carryovers from the projects we've had in the past. We don't have a whole lot going on because we haven't had a lot of funds come our way lately, so we're hoping for some more, but the only thing, well, I guess we'll go down in the train projects later.
The train projects are next, so I'm going to call on you.
Okay, let me get to that tab. The one that's ongoing right now is we've kind of got a head start on the Santa Fe HVAC redo, I guess, and so we've been in there putting in some unit ventilators at night. The first few kind of were a little bit tough. They came in a little bit wider than what they anticipated, but they're making modifications, and so come Monday Monday night we'll be blowing and going with everybody out of there, and so the school will essentially be shut down. So there's just a lot a lot of things to put in that you're not sure how you're gonna get in exactly, 'cause you're not sure what you got on any remodel. The Central High School, the data room we got put in, and, got those 2 mini splits hooked up, and we ran into just a few little glitches, error codes, just kind of balancing the system, and we got a new, computer board put in on one of the older units, and that was existing in there, so I talked with Daniel at the IT department today, and we got temperature holding right about 72 degrees, so it's been very consistent. Aside from that, we've got the, Howell Elementary School. We're still waiting on parts. I guess some of those, light poles, or not the poles, but the lights that go on the exterior poles got held up on some ship somewhere, circling around to try and catch some fish, I guess. But, they're on land right now, and we anticipate them coming in. And I think they're in. They just were waiting for school to be out. Fortunately, we got daylight at night, or at least when they're leaving, so it doesn't impact them a lot. And then, Spring Hill High School, again, that'll be completed this summer, and that's the exterior lights up there for conversion to LEDs.
Okay, any questions for Dave about any of this? And looks like we'll have a really busy summer as usual, right?
Well, it won't be as busy as the past, but it'll be busy.
Yes, yes. Well, we'll take action on that, so that'll just be in FYI, for the meeting. Okay, next up is CHS track. All right. What?
We left it on here as a placeholder because we wanted us to bring it back to the group, just to kind of give you where we are. We did 3 different site visits. They're still running and crunching the numbers to bring back, but they also wanted, a couple of board members reached out and wanted us to push back to bring it to the board work study session in June, and then of course, more information for the full board in July. But I just wanted to come and just kind of let you know where we are, so, regarding the track.
Ms. Kinzer, if we could push that back to June, if that would be okay, I would request that.
I think that, Ms. Parker requested that, through email today with Mr. Fulbright. So even though it's on the agenda, we won't take any action. It doesn't need to be at the June regular meeting, but we'll push it to the June work session, okay? All right, thank you. Next is, the agricultural shed at Central High School.
And I'm just reading about that. I don't know, Lori might want to address that, but I think we're having to redirect some animals.
I'm sorry, yes, we need to redirect some animals. Sorry about that. Okay, so the shed, what that, the proposal is, we do have a vet science program that's been there for a few years. Really hasn't been an issue about the animals since we've only had small animals like cats, dogs, birds, those type things that were brought in, taken home. This year we had some really sweet goats. They were tiny, they were so cute, but then they grew up. And they're ugly. No, they're not ugly, so no, they're good animals. But they do stink. And restroom facilities and all of that, you know. So we're trying to find appropriate housing for them short-term while they're there to be observed, worked with, and all of that for the students. Next to the greenhouse, there is a prime location, and the company that we would be purchasing this from, and I believe, and I apologize, I don't have it right in front of me, and I would have to look very closely. It's about $9,000 for the shed, and the company comes and puts it in. So, yeah. So then that way
Is this in your budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we would be taking care of that so that the students and the teachers would be working on SAE hours over the summer to level the spot. We would have some gravel brought in, they would put it in. We will not be able to fence the area until the next budget cycle, just simply because we just don't have that kind of money right now. So, yes, sir.
Any questions?
Yeah. Is this like a pole barn type structure?
No, it is like just a regular shed with lift-up doors
Okay.
that would have fans for ventilation, that type shed. And it's short-term housing. It's
Okay,
like,
so this is a somewhat temporary structure then?
well, it could be, yes.
Could
taken
be,
down
could be
easily.
long-term temporary, I guess, is what I would say. Okay.
Yes.
I'm
I
happy
mean,
to move
it's
to
not gonna
consent
last
on this.
forever, no, but,
All right.
yeah,
Consent, please.
thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Al?
So you said that a component of this would be the fencing, and you can't do that till next year. What's the cost of that, just out of curiosity?
I'm not sure, we haven't broached that yet because they haven't finished the greenhouse assembling that. They're working on that this summer as well.
There's a fence going around the greenhouse, correct?
It will be around the greenhouse and around the shed area so that all of it's contained. Right now, I think we have some roosters and things like that
Right.
that are in small pens, and they will chase you if they get out. So,
As roosters do, yeah.
they're
I had
mean.
roosters,
They are
yeah.
really
They're mean, yeah.
yes. I don't think it's what she thought she was gonna end up with, but from what I understand, if you don't get certain ones, you might end up with some really bad ones.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, but anyway,
So really, you're looking to just
fencing that in.
fence in that area right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you get an estimate for that? Because that's something that seems
I
to
have
be
not yet, because we haven't
I
gotten
said, could
that
you?
far.
Because that
Oh,
would
yeah.
be I think that would be a key component to that whole part. You don't want the goats getting out and eating
Yeah,
into
and we
the greenhouse
won't
there,
put
so.
them in there until we've maintained them in the building, but we don't wanna, and baby ones, like I said, are easily cared
Mhm.
for, and what we will do until we get that situated and ready to house them, we will make sure that they are not in there past their prime, so that they do not start sinking.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
No idea yet.
All right, then we will move that to consent. Next is granting tenure. That's, actually, I think they've already been honored, hadn't they, Nick?
No, not yet.
Not yet, okay, good. I wondered. Okay, that's a law that we must, elect them by tenure, and you see the list, and so that will be something we will, be part of our, June meeting. I don't think it's anything that needs discussion. These have all been recommended by the principals and met every, benchmark that they needed to do, and it is quite an honor, it really is. Okay, let's look at the handbook, the support staff handbook. Do we
Yes.
need to vote on these?
So I'll be open and transparent here. These are things that have been given to me. These are both the support staff and the administrator handbook started with just looking at the vacation, sick, all of those kind of policies, which in the last board meeting we pulled out, put into the policies, and so here we are here. But it was asked to be put back on here because there were other things inside the handbooks that wanted to be looked at and gone through. So that's where I'm at. I don't know what else wants to be looked at and gone through. I've gone through and updated things that were law that I knew of. This is also me being open and saying I'm new, so I don't know what you guys want your handbooks to say. So this is kind of a task that was given to me, and I am happy to jot down notes and go forth and make edits.
Oh, before I call on you, can we, there's no reason this can't be, the tenure vote couldn't be on consent, is it? Would that have to be a separate vote? It could be consent, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and on that tenure, there was somebody that got left off the original one, so we
saw
caught that.
Okay.
So yeah, she was like on the last one, and that's why
Okay,
I'll just put it on a full list for the next meeting.
Before we went on, I just wanted, okay, Mr. Moore, on the handbook.
So I was one of the ones that had asked that we revisit this. I didn't know we'd revisit like right now. The intention was.
I'm happy to revisit it again later. Y'all just tell me what you want, and you tell me what your intention is, and I'm happy to do it.
I will let you know what I was thinking. And in looking at this, I know when we went over this last month, we found a few more minor things. And in talking with Mr. Hickman, I think he had expressed that he had some areas that he wanted to realign kind of with what he's trying to do. I would be happy if we looked at this sometime this summer and in more of a comprehensive way. I know he may have had some input that he wanted to put into that as well. I'll be happy to look at it from my viewpoint, but what I wanted to make sure was that it's aligned with kind of what you guys are trying to do in the district right now. I think there's still, there's some lengthy documents, and I understood we had to pass some portions of this to meet some requirements so we could get the time clock piece put in there.
Correct.
But if we could, I don't know, June or July, if we can find a better time, and I'll be happy to talk to Mr. Hickman and see if he has any other
Yeah,
things
I would
he wants to
suggest
put in
we
as
put it
well.
on the June work session, since I think we kind of want this to go into effect for the new school year.
Okay.
So that would need to be before the July work session.
I would be
so.
happy to do that, and I'll take a look at it myself and see
Yeah,
if there's
and
anything
you guys
else.
have my email, so if there are things that are like, hey, we need to look at this, happy to look at it. I've also been trying to look at other school districts' handbooks and what they do and try to compare and contrast. Some school books' handbooks are twice the size of ours. Don't even know if that's necessary. One thing I did put in here is perhaps I think part of these are, speaking from the HR side, are documents that we need to give to them, that they need to have notice about benefits, about like the replevin law, that they received a handbook, like certain things like that they need that. But perhaps when it comes to here's what our policies are, we make a note to it. And then I've seen one school district how I'm not tech savvy, but we got some people who are, that you can upload it and you can actually click it and it links and it goes to the policy. So no matter what, like it's always going to be updated, like so long as our policies are up to date on the website, which that's my job and that's what I'm hoping to aim at here.
So I guess my mindset that I was looking at, especially on both of these, was A, covering the HR check boxes, right, that you need for legal reasons or for the district. The second piece would be, do we have any expectations of the employees that they have that we currently operate under, and just make sure those are covered and they're in writing, so that the things that an employee expects to have take place is somewhere in writing, and they're not just left out there holding that. And beyond that, I would go along those lines where I would like to see as little as possible. If it doesn't have to be in there, let's not waste our time writing things out and putting a lot of extra words in it that we just don't need.
Yeah, I don't see the point in a redundancy of it's like the certain things that are board policy. Just reference this is board policy. You can go look it up online. So that's my personal opinion. What I would suggest doing with the policies that are in there.
Thank you.
As we're looking at the administrator handbook as well, moving it, both of these to the June work session.
Yes, ma'am.
However, you do want them voted on and all by the July meeting so that it'll go into effect.
Yeah, before the next school
Okay.
year, that's what I would say.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, we are we're revising our code of conduct, and we will bring that back also. I don't know whether it will reside in the handbook, but we'll bring that back to you to
June
like
work.
you did last time.
Okay.
No, I don't know whether we'll have it done by June, but we
Okay.
will
Yes,
bring
before
that back
school
before
starts.
school starts, yes.
Okay.
And if I could ask one more thing, I would strongly encourage anyone that these two documents impact to give the board and staff some feedback if they have an area that they think is troublesome or that they don't want. Those are the people that are going to be the best ones to give us feedback on this, because if I just start hacking away at it, it may get ugly. But I would hope that people that are impacted by these on a daily basis could say, hey, this part should probably be looked at, or this needs to be updated, or
Yes.
this is something we've been operating under, but yet it's not in writing.
Yeah, and all of these were sent around to all the supervisors at central office, so they all have gone through all the different supervisors on that level. And I've actually went through, was talking to some of them the other day. I was like, please let me know, that's my job, so that's why I'm here. I mean seriously, because I am new for a lot of reasons, but this impacts a lot of people, so.
Okay, thank you.
I'm thrilled you're doing this because it's something I asked for several years with HR, and they said, oh, we're going to do it in the summer, and then nothing was ever done. And so I think it'll be worth it if we have to spend more time to get it right.
Yeah, and I think it's a thing that we should probably bring back up every year that we relook at. That way it doesn't go, I think 2014 was one of these, so.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is the wonderful results of the school board evaluation. Guys, did you all look at that? It's embarrassing. Are you grinning? You did look at it, didn't you? Well, I think we need to, maybe when we have our fall retreat, talk about how we can help people understand what we do and the pressures we're under oftentimes, and the diversity of our views on, we all represent different districts and all. So I was very regretful to see what the evaluation results are, but I don't see the point of an evaluation if you don't use it to try to correct some of the things that it says. So do you have any comments about it? Anybody?
One of the suggestions, I won't take credit for it, Mr. Lucona and I were talking about, perhaps we should, populate the survey, perhaps if we still have team meetings, that it's something that it pops up, that sometimes people may give input and they, if we don't know that they've been involved in a board meeting, they may not know something actually happened. We thought about, there may be things due to COVID, there may be just different things that, that if we knew people first, they did participate in a board meeting, they're just not hating because they just, so that way they would have knowledge before that maybe we should activate the survey to be open all year or something. And it was just a suggestion we talked about, that perhaps, if they came for a board meeting, they might have a QR code when they leave that says, hey, please evaluate your board. I don't know. Yeah, just something to think about as we go into the retreat.
I would think a more informed, I wouldn't just want to go find somebody on the street and say, hey, you like the board, don't you? Let's take this evaluation. But I do think that sometimes people just look at one thing, you're closing a school, so you must, or whatever. I do think that I've been on a lot of boards, but this is the most transparent one that there could be. And people don't think that. They think we come up with some of these things in closed door. We don't. Everything we do is in the public. We can't even have lunch together. It's just that we try to make everything good, bad, ugly, and beautiful open to the public to see and be transparent. So this will be one of our goals, to talk about what can we do to do some PR for ourselves, I guess. But obviously, excuse me, Ms. Irvin.
Well, Miss Betty, I just wanted to add to that. I mean, I think there's definitely things that we need to improve on, but I know it's so funny to me that there's times people, I want to just say, catch me on the street, but then they're asking me about things that we voted on, and they get their information from media sources, which are kind of sometimes wrong. Yes, for lack of a thank you. And it's so I think that, and I think this is a year. I think this is a year full of emotion too, and I think we need to be sensitive to our stakeholders. But I think that I think we need to always just make sure we're approaching them with a genuine heart. But I think that that's a contributing factor, because when I start telling them how things really went down and how we had to make that decision, they have a totally different outlook. So for whatever that's worth, I wanted to contribute.
Thank you. But unlike the school board evaluation, the safety survey looks good. Did you all check it out? They whoever took the survey, I think, for the most part, feels that the schools are safe, and that we are providing a safe environment for our students, and so that's good. And I don't know if you have any comments about that, Mr. Gaines, but
again, I think that open transparency, although some things were hard that we communicated out, I just think, like you said, us working to figure out, I think it's a good suggestion, us working to figure out who's talking to us, and who are we communicating with, and how's that message getting out, and how can we, for y'all, make sure that board decisions, people know the why. Yes. Or people have participated in a board work session or meeting, so they know the background behind some decision. I think sometimes people just see decisions.
And don't get your information on social media.
I appreciate with the safety surveys, I think I won't just blame it on the COVID team. I think the COVID team, of course, but also our schools, mainly our schools, communicating with parents, being transparent about why we were doing things. Our schools and our staffs worked so hard to them, still doing temperature checks, those things like that, still trying to make sure that our students and staff are safe. I think that contributes to the overall climate of safety in our system.
All right, thank you. And then moving on, we're down to, and those will be FYI. We certainly have no reason to vote on them. We're now ready for our bids. The first bid is commercial insurance workers' comp. Who's speaking to that? No one? There's no documentation with it, no attachment. So,
I'll have to follow up with Eric to see, maybe he was waiting on the bid. We'll just have to circle back. I didn't get a communication that we didn't have, and it may have been a mistake, so I'll text him, and if there's something going on, and we'll circle back to it.
okay. I would say that if it's something that's gonna be on the, meeting, then be sure there's an attachment, so.
Yes, yes,
But we'll have to put it on new business.
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and the next is copy paper.
Mhm.
What'd you say? Okay, excuse me. No talking. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I've really been silly, Mr. Fulbright. Do you wanna take over? We've only got three more things. I bet. We wanna hear your report in a minute. Okay, well, you take a breath and we'll finish this up. Copy paper to consent, there you go. Then we've got a spring purchase of buses, and I think, Chipper mentioned that, the money is available to purchase the buses, so can we do that consent? Question? Nobody's here to answer it, so we'll do. All right, next is the compact track loader, maintenance department.
The maintenance department was able to get one, a few years ago, but it was a, what they call kind of a tire model that has the 4 tires. We've learned that with some of the landscape things that we do, it's better to have a track style and plus a little bit bigger unit. So we've had some, operational utility money savings, so that's what we wanted to put towards this, and we got this quote through, community buying, I forget which one it was, I think it was a Sourcewell, but it was through the Kubota. We got 2 bids, one from Caterpillar and one from the Columbia Kubota, and we opted to use the Columbia Kubota because it was cheaper and local. So it's another.
But these are budgeted funds, so until the budget is.
It's
okay.
another skid steer for our maintenance fleet.
Okay. Any question? We don't have a budget yet, so, but it's for 2021-22 consent. Okay, and, one more thing, and before I forget about it, because Mr. Cobb just sent this to me, do you want to say something about it? I can if you'd like. Well, how many, do you all remember every year that they give a car away at the, Columbia Chrysler Dodge, and I have attended that, and it's just a real event, and somebody ultimately has to be there to win the car. And so Mr. Cobb just has texted me the details about that. So I'm just going to stop because I don't want to, we've only got one more thing on the agenda, and
All right.
Mr. Fulbright's got good news to tell us, so.
Excellent. Thank you for allowing me to share this. The 2021 Jeep Compass giveaway from Columbia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. One Murray County Public Schools senior on Saturday, May 22nd will win a $29,410 retail value 2021 Jeep Compass from Columbia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Fiat. One lucky teacher from each school will win $400 from Columbia Chrysler Dodge. Again, these are on Saturday, May 22nd. You can join. It's virtual, so you'll have to join via Facebook Live.
It's virtual.
Yes, the owner of the dealership did not want a big crowd.
Yeah, because it's usually a huge crowd.
It would have been, yes. So it is virtual. You have to join a Facebook Live. It'll be on Murray County Public Schools and Columbia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat.
Will
Any
you
questions?
email that information to us,
I will.
and so that we have it, and then I'm sure that all the schools will have it as well.
And that's this Saturday.
Oh, it's this Saturday, yeah, right, the 22nd, okay.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The last thing on the agenda is renewal of the advertising agreement with District Solutions. You all saw that, that's the buses, how we, Mr. Moore says consent, and there you go. Okay.
I want to touch on number 5.1, return to school status. Just a couple questions on that. I'm looking back through the attachment that's on here. What is the status of parents being able to come back into the schools for next year? That's not addressed in here, to my knowledge. Maybe I just missed it. Could you fill me in? Whoever wants to do it.
Yeah, I just came from the back to sit down. What Mr. Hickman wanted us to do is to put this FYI out there just to let everybody know. First and foremost, we're going 100% in person to school. We didn't put any procedural things or any additional guidance because we're waiting on that to come down from the state. Things are ever changing. If we keep on the trajectory that we're on now, I mean, it looks like we're going to be fairly back to normal, if you will. So as it pertains to visitors and guests back in the schools, we see that being something that that's going to be permitted. But what that looks like structurally and the parameters, we don't know yet. We're just kind of waiting till that comes out. But we do, we keep on this same trajectory, barring nobody turns into zombies from the vaccine. I mean, looks like things will be back fairly.
Okay,
back
well,
to normal.
here's what I would like to just task you guys with, because I
Sure.
know we'll talk about this more as the summer goes on. One thing I've been a little bit perplexed and bothered by is the lack of parent involvement allowed in the schools. And I know that that's what it is because of the virus, I understand. But we're approaching the end of that. And I want to be able to see us get back to where, not 30 parents coming into a classroom doing something, but if a parent, a father, mother, whoever wants to have lunch with their kid, there are ways to socially distance even within a cafeteria. I mean, 6 feet, I'm 6 feet away from David. Yeah. It's not like we're having to separate them into another room. So I would just like to see us put that as a priority. Because, I mean, these kids have gone to school now pretty much in a bubble for the year. And I'd like to see parents be able to get back involved and have some input into their children's education.
I think, Mr. Chairman, we debated whether to go ahead and put some procedures concerning, but as you know, those things change and we get different guidance from the state. So we kind of wanted to wait out to try to get more guidance from the state so we'd be able to answer all those questions about visitors and, hopefully we'll be able to return to school with normal visitors and everything that's going on is our hope is that we would return back to 100% in-person normal operations.
Well, I hope the guidance from the state matches up with the guidance from me. So that's all I'll say. I'm filling my oats this evening. Wait till you hear the report. Go ahead, Moore.
If I could piggyback on that, as I say every single time too, I would prefer we did not wait for the state to tell us what to do on this. We can start deciding how we want it to look. And if we need to make adjustments, we can make adjustments later. I would just rather us not wait and wait and wait. And then we're dropping this on parents and staff and students at the last minute, which we tend to do, look at the summer program, what we're waiting to the last minute to do because we're waiting on the state. Let's just go ahead and figure out, because my goal, and I more than just the parents back in the classroom, is to go ahead and look at what the school year we feel like we want it to look like, which in my opinion is almost exactly like it did a year and a half ago before this started, and then work backwards from there and make any adjustments that are required, and I do mean required, not just hinted at or suggested at, required ones only. Other than that, we need to choose our course, what we want for the people of Murray County, and decide we're going to do that and stick with it. I mean, I think we've done a fairly good job so far, and I would like us to have a very clear path of what that school's going to look like and not be waiting until the end of July to release that and let people find out then. So, if we need to have some work sessions and figure that out, I would just like us to intentionally be moving back towards what we want the school year to look like and then work around that if we have to make adjustments.
May I speak to that? As part of the COVID team, we did have some meetings with parents and like a Zoom meeting a while ago, and some of that was focusing on the year-end stuff, but we also, at that point, also did talk about some of going back to school and how we get parents back involved. And it could be, kids with last names. There's lots of different ways about getting parents back to having lunch with their students or just different things like that. So it is something we've been working on. And I'll say one thing that came up this week on us was with making guidelines which we had in place for like graduation, and then all of a sudden the state changing these literally the day of one of our high school's graduations, and then people getting upset, oh well now everybody can come because the state said that. So I think when we were talking about this, that was fresh on our minds, so we're not wanting to say, oh yeah, all the parents can go back, we're going back to like it was 2019, and all of a sudden we get to July, and it's like, who knows what happens, like, hopefully this doesn't happen, and hopefully we keep going the way we're going with the COVID and the health, and saying that, like, we can go back to normal, but I think it was just kind of, to present this today, I just want to say we have been working on that, and it is something that we weren't waiting to the last minute on.
I mean, to that point, though, I would say don't overcomplicate it.
Understood.
We could figure out all kinds of special ways to make accommodations. Like you kind of said something about maybe have certain kids, maybe there certain letters of the name could come in on certain days. That is way overcomplicated.
Right, and that was
not do that.
That was
please.
some feedback we got from parents. So I was
Okay.
just like,
So
these
again,
were discussions that we've been having with lots of different people.
It's very easy, I know, because I do this in meetings myself. When you get into a meeting, you start thinking about things and you start going down these rabbit holes of ways to make things happen. I think just back up, make it more simple. Look at what we did 2 years ago, and then start making adjustments on what the state says we have to accommodate that's different than that. Otherwise, in my opinion, the assumption would be unless we have to make a change, it's back to the way it was. And then again, and as a parent, again, myself, I'm fully going to understand if Murray County comes out and says this is how we're going to operate next year. And if on July 27th, the state of Tennessee comes down or the federal government says you need to do this differently, everybody's going to understand that that's outside of our control. And we've done the best job we can do. We've planned ahead. We've made plans, and we may have to adjust them. But that's not on us at that point. It would be on us, though, if we wait until July 27th to come up with our plan, and at the last minute give all of our parents 3 days' notice of what we're doing, and we can do better than that.
Understood. Now, just letting you know, we have been working on it. It hasn't been a last-minute thought process.
Let me say one positive thing here before I hear your great report here, but,
It might be positive.
I know. I want to thank Jack Cobb for the organization of the Resilience Awards. That was just a really, really special night. It meant a lot to me to know that we could do that again, and I had so much feedback about it. So many people appreciated it, and I know if you weren't there and knew that the first little boy that walked across that stage wasn't this tall, and he had a prosthesis, and he was grinning from ear to ear. And so I was just like, the whole rest of the night. But it was a joyful night. It was joyful, and I don't think we realized what our students face, what our staff, our faculty, and I think hopefully it's something that will be a tradition every year. And I'm just glad to see we can go back to it. So now I'm going to turn the meeting back over to our chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing that, and I'm sorry I missed that meeting because there's 3 meetings that we've had that are pretty important between the last school board meeting and tonight's work session, and that night actually was the presentation of the school's operating budget to the county commission. It was much more well received than I thought, quite honestly. We got a lot of compliments on how clear the presentation was, how well thought through the budget process was. They said like many of us have said, they felt like they actually understood what was in the budget this time. Because quite honestly, from the time I've been on the commission going back, I never understood what the budget was for the schools. It was just all a muddled pile of money. But this time it was very clear. I explained that we had each department head present their request. Doug has some updated revenue numbers. We will be having a special called budget meeting next week. Need to decide, probably Tuesday evening. I'm not sure what graduations are. I can just tell you I'm going to be out of town that last part of the week. Okay. Okay, so let's do Tuesday for a budget meeting. We'll go over updated revenue numbers, which they're better than the first numbers we looked at. We still have some thoughts to put in place. We definitely are taking into account the money set aside by the state legislature and the governor for teacher raises. I want to try to get something in there for that because that's what that money is designated for. I want to make it clear that we're not buying toilet paper and tires with it. We're going to do what it's intended to be done with it. So that was a good meeting that night, and kind of like tonight's meeting, sometimes the longer it goes, the better off it seems to turn out. Capital request meeting was very lively. put it like that. There was some pushback on not necessarily the new high school on the north side of town, but what to do with the old Spring Hill High School. I think there's a feel by some commissioners that they would like to see it turned into a second high school that we're gonna eventually need up there anyway. Now, obviously, it would be a smaller one than what we're planning to build, but that was some of the thought that, you know, we can have this 5-year plan now, but probably in 3 years, we're coming back asking for another high school. So that's some of the feedback on that part of it. There was a little pushback on the Santa Fe Auxiliary Gym, but that's, you know, 5% of the total ask. I think that we've got a good discussion going. Many of the commissioners said that if we do see the schools needing these buildings within the next 5 years, this year is the year we have to lock it in because of interest rates, skyrocketing cost of building, things like that. So there is that mindset too. It was a very good discussion. There, if you go back and watch the meeting, there's a nice lively portion in the middle of our discussion that I will tease you about. The third meeting that I had that was really positive in my mind was when I sat down with Mayor Ogles, Mayor Mulder, and Commissioner Morrow to discuss the future of McDowell Elementary School, the building itself. The county, I don't think, is going to have traction to do anything with that building, but Mayor Mulder asked that we give him some time to feel out the city of Columbia to see if they have anything they would like to do with it. I don't think anybody wants to see it torn down and turned into a Dollar General store. I think that we need to do something to preserve the history and heritage that's there, and I think the city of Columbia may have the desire to make something like that happen. So, but the talks are very positive with them, and I feel like he's got a lot of out-of-the-box ideas that may really do something special for that property. So that's a little bit of what's happened between the last couple meetings. Budget is, we have to have our updated new budgets turned into them June 1st. That's why we have to meet next week. So with that, I'll let Doug know if there's any change to that. Obviously, I'll email everybody, but for right now, we'll plan on next Tuesday. Better make sure I don't have anything. Next Tuesday at 6. Yeah. And we'll finalize our budget at that time. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. There was a real, for the most part, there was a real overall sense of positive energy working forward, and I think we've really got some good opportunities to strike while the iron's hot with some goodwill towards the county commission. They were extremely impressed with tonight's presentation and the overall budget presentation. We've owed that to the county commission for a long time, and I think they are finally appreciative to have that happen. So, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for bringing it to them, and it's great to think that we can work together. You know, it's been a long time, hasn't it? I don't know why I'm talking. You're the chairman. I don't have any other business here. Okay. Well, then, I think we will adjourn. That sounds good to me.